situation you've been in ever since you've been traveling?
Well, walking too close to the side of the road and having cars go by at about 60 miles an hour and being only 10 inches away from you. That's the most dangerous thing that happens is cars. Probably the most dangerous country, that's a tough one because danger is situational. You can go in the United States into the middle of Chicago and find a ghetto, and that would be more dangerous than where I've at. I was probably the most afraid in Dimock, Iraq, because I didn't know if it was safe when I went into Iraq, and it was after the heavy fighting ended, and I was most cautious, I suppose. But the most dangerous part of travel is cars. The second most dangerous thing is maybe doing some kind of cultural taboo thing where you would insult somebody by accident, like point your foot in Thailand. If you point your foot at them, they get kind of angry. If you pat them on the head, they don't want their head touched. So in Thailand, if you for some reason you patted a girl's head or a man's head, you could get in a fight pretty quick. Taboos, religious or political issues. Getting involved with political issues. Girls have troubles because they get raped. Staying out all night and drinking is the way most people get in trouble.
You've been to Brazil?
I've been to Brazil. Beautiful country. Great beaches, and you may not think about it, but the sun sets in the west and rises in the east. So when you're on the Brazil side of the world, of the continent, of South America, the sun is rising. So they have beautiful sunrises. And it rises up over the beaches, and they got these boats called jancaras or something like that are little flat boats, sailboats, and they go fishing in the morning. It's a beautiful place.
What different languages do you know?
I speak Spanish, I would say 90% fluent. French is probably 70% fluent. And I can say hello in many, many languages. But I'm pretty good in Thai because I've been there so many times. But yo hablo español muy bien porque, por ejemplo, yo estaba acá ahorita. Je parle français. Pourquoi je voyageais à l'Afrique? I learned French in Africa, and I learned Africa for the most part is French. South and Central America is Spanish. So these are two of the dominating languages of the planet. German's not really needed. I just thought I'd throw that in.
Do you call what you do a job or just something fun to do for money?
I consider myself having a job. I'm it's hard to call it a job because I always enjoy what I'm doing. But it is a job. I mean, I get up every morning. I have a routine. I work on the internet for about 2 or 3 hours. I blog. I arrange pages. I do, maintenance type things to my websites. I call up Andrew now in India. I have a coder from India that I call up every day, and we have a chat. Basically, we talk over Yahoo Messenger, free call, and it's like chat, but it's free. So we sit and talk, and I kind of, tell him the pros and cons of what we're doing, and do it. But I now have to deal on a bigger level because my website's one of the bigger websites in the United States for travel, and that we're having advertiser problems. I have to deal with advertisers from the United States that are wanting to call me and stuff like that. And sometimes I'll be in, Europe or Asia, and we'll be totally different time zones. And I may have to take a call at 3 o'clock in the morning because they can't really visualize I'm in a different time zone.
Have you ever been to Australia or China?
I've been to China. I haven't been to Australia. I'm saving Australia until I can figure out how to buy a van and travel across the place. This is one of the bigger countries on the planet. to enjoy a country, you need transportation, and generally, the more modern the country it is, the worse the public transportation is, except in Europe. And Australia, I feel that it would be better to enjoy the place if I had a van and maybe somebody to travel with. It's full of British backpackers, which are not not always the friendliest people on the planet. They're kind of like, I call them my mean older brother.
Out of the 88 places you've been, have you ever been to Malta?
Malta? No, I haven't. That's, I guess, an island, right? And off the south of Italy, right? Is that right? Somebody better tell me. And I haven't been there because generally it's a Mediterranean thing there. Skipping around in those areas is still maybe outside my budget, okay? I could do it, but to enjoy a place, you have to go into the right budget. And contrary to what you're doing, if your family goes to Europe, they're only spending maybe 2 weeks there. I could spend 2 months. So if you spent the same amount of money and you did, 8 times the amount of money, your parents would probably not be so happy. So when you go to Europe with your parents, you realize it's 2 weeks. I normally will spend 2 months in every country, and the cost of Europe is it's not enjoyable when I'm only in a country for 1 week. For me, it's to not understand the country at all. It's really, it's just, I could do better on Wikipedia.
What's the hottest place you've ever been?
Hottest place?
Yeah.
Basra, Iraq. We took a train from Baghdad to Basra, and it got up to 40 degrees centigrade. I'm not sure what that is in Fahrenheit. The world's pretty much centigrade, so I'm thinking more and more all the time in centigrade. I think it's probably right around 115, 120.
What's the coolest place you've been to?
Well, besides being in Indiana when it went 20 degrees below zero, I would say the coldest country I've ever traveled in is either Tibet, China, or Nepal, because it's kind of, you have two different things when you talk temperature. You have altitude, and then you have the degrees above the equator. And even though that's almost tropical, because it's at maybe 27 degrees above the equator, when you get about 1.5 miles high, it starts to get very cold. I'm in Panajachel, Guatemala, which is at 1,500 meters above sea level. So even though I'm in the tropic area, it's actually cool at night, and you can wear a jacket. So it's when you're taking cold and thing, you have to take into consideration the latitude or whatever above the sea, how far above sea level you are. So the altitude. Then you have to take the degrees north above the equator. So in between 23.5 and 23.5 above and below, you're in the tropics. Then it just keeps getting colder as you either go south or north of the equator.
As a kid, did you imagine yourself doing this?
No, I imagined myself backpacking in Europe, but it's kind of funny. I now consider Europe one of the boring places, and I consider Africa one of the interesting places. Work, we write a story, and then the real life is a different thing. We have a dream, and you have to constantly reassert your dream, otherwise you get off track too easy. But once I took off traveling, I really wanted to travel because I'm a curious person, and every day is different.
Have you ever wanted to go to Antarctica?
Yes.